Man, my entire view of the hobby has changed. Maybe I was just really naive.
You dumbass. Whoa.
But I am going to shift gears on how I am going to operate in the space I'm going to explain. Stick around. What's going on, sports card hobby family? Another day, another beautiful day, another sports card video. We are back again. How the heck are you guys doing?
I feel pretty good too. I think I finally got some sleep.
I hope that everyone had an amazing weekend. A lot of people going out to card shows. I'm pretty jealous as our flag football team, Coach Sports Card Dad, did not do well enough, and we fell. Actually, this team was really good. We will keep on working on it, but we will keep on trucking. Huge thanks to today's video sponsor, COMC.com, the growing 35 million card inventory, a treasure trove for collectors with a wide range of options to suit every taste and preference. The user-friendly COMC interface allows you to filter and search for cards with ease, ensuring you find exactly what cards you are looking to add to your collection. You can grade through them, you can do auctions through COMC. There's all sorts of wondrous things going on over there, so check out my links down below to take you to start your COMC journey. Anybody else sick and tired of being sick and tired? No, I'm kidding. Actually, I've just come to the conclusion that maybe I'm just getting older. That could be it. I'm now literally the guy in the mornings with the newspaper telling the kids, hey, you know, this world is going to hell. That's me. I'm about to turn 43, and I think that I am officially there, guys. I'm officially there. When I look at the hobby and kind of what is most popular, what's really driving the hobby, we talked a lot about repacks yesterday. And, you know, I think that really, if we're being honest, yes, you do have a lot of, and I think a lot of vintage collectors keep really the machine going. There's a lot of great vintage collectors out there buying singles. But I mean, for the most part, if we're talking about kind of that younger crowd and we're talking about, you know, the modern, ultra modern cards, if you're looking at the volume that's being moved, whether it be through repacks or through breaks, I'll call them the gambling products of the hobby. These seem to be the most popular parts of the sports card hobby right now. A lot of what keeps that inventory churning. And for me, I don't do repacks and I don't do breaks. So for me, it's just not of interest. Not that it doesn't need to be of interest to other people. Zero judgment whatsoever from me, but that's just not my angle. I am a singles buyer. I enjoy buying singles of my favorite players. Drew Brees, Tom Brady is a guy that I'm a long-term holder in. And for me personally, I just don't get any sort of a thrill, kind of that gambling thrill of, oh man, what's in the pack? You know, throwing down $100 and hoping for the best.
100% fire basketball for KCC.
I would rather just wait for the card that I want to come and then try to figure out how to obtain it. Now, but again, if you're into kind of the breaks or the repack stuff, I totally get it. I can see the excitement around it, but it's just not for me. I've been enjoying the prospecting side of Bowman U products. I got to this like Super Bowl weeks. This is going back like what, like February 1st. But this upcoming draft, of course, you got like the Drake Mays of the world. And I've been having a good time because I'm a big football guy of buying some of these raw cards, getting them graded out. And then I've been able to move some of them here leading up to the draft and actually done really well on some of these flips. And then, of course, we've got the excitement of the draft coming, and I've got some of these, too, that are, you know, all these quarterbacks that are going to be coming out in the draft, and it'll be fun as just kind of an experiment to see how that works out. But so far, so good. The thing I like about Bowman U, or even Leaf products or Wildcard products, you can get autographs of certain quarterbacks, players, receivers, whatever, and they're like 10, 15, 20 bucks. You can get them graded, and then maybe you can sell it for 60, 70, 80 bucks, or maybe it's 45 or whatever it is. But my point is, it's a lower barrier of entry there to be able to just get in. You're not buying a $500 card, hoping to grade it. Please let it get a 10 so that it's a $2,000 card. And if it gets a 9, maybe it's a $600 card or whatever, you know, or if it's an 8, you lose money. That's more of a higher stakes game than really what I want to play. I really kind of enjoy more of this, oh, okay, we've got these prospects that don't really have NFL licensed stuff for a while, especially when you look at kind of the Panini Fanatic stuff going on. They're not going to have actual pro uni autograph cards for maybe a year. So we've got basically like a 1-year runway with some of this Bowman U stuff. And again, you look at what happened with Caitlin Clark cards and a lot of that sort of thing. Just kind of these amateur athletes and specking on them coming up and either starting, or maybe they're going to go in the transfer portal and go to a better team. That's kind of a fun spec. And again, I like the price point of those individual cards. And actually, a lot of the cards look really cool. I have been buying Wild Card because I really like the designs. And it's literally like, for a lot of them, $15, $20, $30 for an autograph card. And it's numbered to 4, numbered to 7, or whatever it is. So, I mean, it's kind of just a cool spec that I've really enjoyed. So that's been fun, kind of getting back into some of that flip game to help fund the long-term buys. I will say, and I know I've talked about this on the channel, I'm shook. I'm really shook by the soaking and the fixing the corners and the dents and the surface stuff. I understand that this is not some brand new thing that is in the hobby. I understand that. I think what shakes me a little bit, I'm shaking, is that it seems to be way more prevalent than I ever thought. Like when I think about trim cards, I've always just thought of that as like, of course, it's happening. People are doing it. They're trying to slip it by. But I just look at it as a very small part of the overall card space. It's like, yeah, maybe I end up buying a trim card one day, but odds are that I probably won't because, it's a smallish part of the hobby. But then as I learn about some of the newer kind of stuff, the soaking, the dunking, the sprays, and the whatever else is going on, to me, it looks like a much more large-scale affair. So it makes me think about, okay, do I want to maybe pause on maybe some mid-end cards or stuff that could be part of that grouping, cards that would be popular for that sort of thing? Maybe. And that also kind of ties into something I've been thinking about for a while, and that's supply for a lot of ungraded cards. And let me kind of back up here a little bit. So we are going through, it's clear, it's obvious that ever since 2020 pandemic boom, we're going through the grading, the third-party grading boom, and it's not even just in sports cards, trading cards, it's in collectibles as a whole. And if you watch my channel, you know that I've got graded video games, I've got graded comic books, I've got cards and action figures, I've got different things, pop culture collectibles. But the one thing that's becoming more and more apparent to me is there is still a lot of that inventory, and when I say inventory, kind of found stuff, coming out of the woodwork. Hell, if you're seeing that they're pulling out vintage collections that are 50 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old, and they're finding those in attics, think about what they're going to find on the pop culture side from the 80s. There was actually I'll switch gears a little bit, the sealed video game space. There was a huge collection in Dallas that was unearthed, 170 games or something, and big ones. The first printing of Zelda, Metroid, first kind of NES games. And this was a huge find. Then I asked myself, in a few years, will there just be more and more of these kind of finds in the same fashion that you do see, this happen with card collections? And to me, I think there's still a lot of population growth to happen in trading cards, not just sports cards, just trading cards as a whole. So when I'm looking at buying a card now, at this point in time, at this stage, I'm really looking at, is that card really rare? I want to know if it's rare. And I'm not just talking about, is it, numbered to 10? Because as we've said, as kind of sets have gone on, you can see that, look, if there's 20 different sets that have cards out of 10, you got to kind of take all that into account. I'm looking at more of how many different sets have ever been produced, which takes me down a whole different rabbit hole with either, non-sports or some of these other things. But I guess my main point is this thing that I want to hold long term, how rare is it? And if it's not, if it's something that was kind of mass produced and it's really kind of centered around the grading scarcity of it, meaning like if it's a high grade vintage card, there's going to be less of those. It's kind of similar with all this stuff. If it's an 86 Fleer, if it's something that it's out there, it's not hard to find it, how much more is coming to grading? And when I think about it, my answer, and this is just my personal opinion, again, for you all, you might think, hey, look, we're at the end of the supply. They're probably not going to find more. We probably graded most of it. Or you might be saying, hey, I just want to own this, and I really love this particular thing, and I just want to own it, and this price point, I can live with it. I enjoyed it. I can enjoy it at this price point. Then by all means, that makes perfect sense. I think my issue is that I love a lot of different things, in pop culture, collectibles, and sports cards, and historically have done some impulse buying, so that's again me looking at what I've been doing and just figuring out, okay, if I didn't do this impulse buying, yes, I've got these cool things from impulse buying, but I also could just not do that and save up and get a larger item that is just like, wow, a larger item that I didn't think I could achieve but all I really had to do was just stop and wait and save a little bit for it. And I know many of you are probably thinking, well, duh, that's probably the most obvious thing ever, and I know that. But historically, I haven't done that. But again, so I'm looking at the potential price falls from added supply, and I know that people will say like, hey, look, a lot of these things they have high demand. I'm also just not sold that we're not still in a little bit of exuberance time, a little bit of we're still in kind of hobby euphoria. And I know many people will be like, dude, you're nuts, man. We just saw price decreases over the last couple of years. You're nutty to think that we're in some sort of euphoria still. All the big kind of the whales that got in and out and boost those prices up, they're all gone. I'm not convinced of that. I'm not convinced that there's not still quite a bit of inventory that is being held, supply that's being held by folks that maybe they don't want to sell at a loss, or maybe they do plan on holding it for a while, but then eventually they're kind of like, I just want to get out of this particular thing. I'm not so sure that it's going to stay the way that it is. Many might think, though, that it's going to grow bigger than what it is now, especially with Fanatics kind of doing their thing, and maybe they get the licenses, and there's an expectation of Fanatics events, and there's new shows, there's new things popping up. That could be the case, but what if it isn't? So we have a rising supply of graded collectibles across the board, whether we're talking about sports cards, non-sports, whatever we're talking about in collectibles for pop culture, and even vintage. So even vintage, when you look at the gem rate stuff, there's approximately, out of these 1.5 million cards that are being graded every month, there's approximately 100,000 of those cards that are vintage cards. So I know many will think like, yeah, but the vintage stuff, it's not modern, safe, vintage safe. And I do agree, probably more safe than a lot of modern stuff, because naturally a lot of modern stuff's going to fall because the athlete just doesn't work out. But I think that it's a little short-sighted to think that we're not going to get a lot more graded supply. I have a lot of buddies that are in this game of going out and buying collections. We talk about them here on the channel. Leighton Sheldon is one of them. Chris, baseball card collector, investor, dealer. He's another guy. He's out here and he's finding new These guys are finding new collections all the time. A lot of nice vintage stuff. And I'm not saying that everyone's finding 52 Topps Manals every time they go out for a drive to see a collection. They're seeing all this amazing things. I'm not saying that, but what I'm just saying is think of it over years, because I'm trying to think of it over a longer period of time. And if I wait a little bit, just to kind of see what that supply does. And then also if there's ever a time in the next few years where demand falls off, because remember, we had a pretty stagnant time going back in trading cards for a while, and collectibles, period. Graded games, graded comic books. Go back 10 years and look at the prices. It's very different. So if there's ever kind of a demand decrease or just it falls off, and then the supply has continued to go up on those graded items, think about that. Think about what will that do to pricing, and will that be kind of a nice buying time to get into more of these stuff that you see often. Now, if we're talking about really, really rare items, then they're in their own kind of stratosphere. They're in their own world that's outside of this box that I'm this bucket. Most of the stuff is fairly available inside the bucket, and then you've got stuff that is very, very limited, naturally limited, as in they didn't make very much of it, or maybe they did, but it's high grade. 52 Topps Mantle PSA 10 is living up here, 9s and 10, it's all living up here. Most of the stuff falls in this bucket here. And so that's where I'm just not in a huge hurry. I'm going to focus on, I've got a handful of collectibles I've picked that are a little bit more high end for me. Definitely. They would be the largest buys that I've ever made. One of them I've already announced here. I've pretty much locked it in, and it's a Star Jordan rookie card. Still have to finalize some things, but I will have that card. And so that's one of them. That's one of them where I looked at overall supply, and I looked at kind of what are the grades selling for, and kind of made a choice there. That's going to be one of them. So when I look at my overall collection, if I look at what do I have volume of, and when I say volume, different slabs. So Tom Brady, I've got probably 60 to 80 slabs of different Tom Brady stuff. I love the Prism products. I love the Panini products from 2012 to really 2019, because 2020 is when it really went bonkers. They screwed up Select and stuff. So I really like 2012 through 2019 for Panini products. You guys know I've got Drew Brees stuff, a lot of Drew Brees, and again, probably 60 to 80, different slabs. And again, a lot of cool Panini products, but I've got a lot of early Topps Chrome refractors and that sort of stuff. I've got kind of like the golds, the Bowman golds and the Topps Chrome golds. Those are really fun. And then I don't collect Marvel cards as a whole. I'm more of a comic book collector on that front. But the 2013 Fleer Retro set with the PMGs, but they also had these auto cards that are really, really rare. They're really tough to find. And so it's kind of that character image, but then you also have an autograph attached to it, and it's an artist. For this one, it's Arthur Adams, pretty famous Wolverine artist. And so I collect that particular set, but not all of the characters. Not all of the characters out of that set, just kind of the main ones, Spider-Man and Wolverine and some of the larger characters. On the Stranger Things side, I've got a boatload of the autograph stuff. So I do have duplicates of a lot of it. That will get sold off as we move up to season 5. I've probably got 40, 50 Stranger Things slabs that I'm just never going to move. They're going to be held long term. But I've really been looking at like the character cards that are numbered out of 11. And these are blues. They're basically all blues. So this is the Butcher Billy set that's numbered to 11, and there's character cards. They're tough to find. Very, very cool cards, foil cards. And you've got that new set, the 2024 set, and you've got just the character cards that are numbered out of 11. There's 20 characters in that set, and I've got like 9 of them. I'm collecting that set as they pop up. They're numbered out of 11, and sometimes they're asking a lot. This is that card, but it's the autographed version numbered out of 11. This is 1, of course, before he turns into Crazy Vecna. This is numbered out of 11, but for example, these are a fun chase because there's one sitting on eBay for $1,750 OBO, and I got this one at auction for $175. So these are the kinds of cards where there's not huge demand for them. It's a very niche pocket of collectors. And there's just big buy it nows up on eBay. And so when they pop up though on auction, then I'll follow it. And those are kind of fun cards to chase. I do have still like my 86 Fleer Jordan sticker rookie card. I've got my Willie Mays autographs. I've got different things to Hall of Fame autos, like Greg Maddux, stuff that I'm holding on to, but I have switched it up to, I'm now working on a very narrow pool of stuff in the trading card space. As it sits right now, I've got a good amount of Breeze stuff. I'm not looking to really add anything unless it's like, one of one gold vinyl pops up and it's like $200, then I would look at it. For Tom Brady, I still think his prices have kind of slowly crept down. And so I think I'll take a little bit of a break probably for the rest of the year. Again, unless there's some fire sale, buy it now of like cards like this that I had shown where it's numbered, kind of like cool Prism stuff. If it's numbered stuff to where the prices just look right, then I'll look at that sort of thing. But again, I'm going to focus on a few larger items and just really narrow it down and focus on those larger items and see if I can just be disciplined and attain them. So again, focusing on the really kind of rare things that I've been targeting that I want and saving up for those, and then looking maybe in 2, 3, 4, 5 years at more of the more available stuff. Like for example, I said I want an 86 Fleer Jordan. I still want one. I know eventually I'll have one, but I still feel like, hey, give that card 2 years, 3 years. I've graded that many more. Do we have a little bit of a dip in interest? Because right now, card shows are still slammed. Card shops are popping up and they're busy. Right now it's still it's a boom time in cards and collectibles. So I don't think it hurts to really narrow the focus. At least that's what I'm going to do here for a little while, and we will see how it goes. Friends, thank you very much for sticking around. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have you thought about any of this stuff similarly, or are you like, screw you, man, I'm just having fun with what I'm doing? Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.